Hey, everybody. My name is Pascal, and I'm a Rails developer. On the side, I run, I have a blog here that's called sharpen.page, and that blog is about buyer psychology, stuff like that. My aim is to sort of play in both camps, play into the on the side of understanding the buyer psychology, understanding what makes people buy stuff, buy products, and also building Rails apps. As a freelancer, getting good at that stuff, getting quick. And so this stream here is about my practice at getting better at Rails. And I've got another stream on Thursdays for where I do some landing pages and I do some I get into the mind of a buyer. And that's a Thursday stream, Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So this stream here is about my practice at getting better at Rails. So I've already done a few apps under my belt for some clients, for myself, but I want to get better at making sure I do things properly. I want to develop my taste develop my taste, have a better taste at when I do, be able to spot quality, being able to just level up my my minimum, sort of the minimum of quality that of my apps. That includes, first and foremost, it includes automated testing. I'm building an app right now as a sort of a playground, and that app is a reading group app. It allows for me to put some notes about a book that I'm reading, but also share those notes with a friend of mine who's also reading it too. This is kind of dummy data, but what we have is a way to record some notes, but only have the notes shared with my friend when my friend gets to that same place in the book. So whenever we record a thought, we have to put like some kind of a progress indicator, and that's going to be stored in the database as a percentage of the book read. And it's sort of, I want to make it adaptable to if you're reading a paper book, an ebook, and an ebook is kind of weird because you know, the pages total number of pages could change from, you know, if you increase the font size, if you change from landscape to portrait on your phone or your iPad or whatever. So the total amount of pages might change. And so I want to have a way to save the raw progress, like the page number, total pages, but derive from it the percentage. And, you know, if you're reading an audiobook, then a way to capture that it's, you know, so many minutes have elapsed and so many minutes are left, etc. Let me just put on Twitter that that I'm live. Okay. So, and each time you put a note together in this app, you would be invited to put a note for yourself as like a private note, your kind of reaction to it, but then also add a note for you and your friend for later. I guess one of the appeals for this is so that I can leave some notes for my future self as well. So I could really be rereading the note. If I reread the book, I could stumble upon my past notes and not have it sort of influence my reaction until I provide my own reaction. And so I don't want to be, I want to encourage people to first have their own reaction and then read in other people's reactions. And so you can't see where you can't see anybody else's reactions about a certain part of the book until you provide your own, and then after that you'll be able to contribute others, and you'll be able to see what other people have contributed as notes. And same way, if you reread the book later on, all those notes that you had in the past, you sort of forget them, but they're kind of like little gifts as you reread the book, because you'll put some of your notes together, and then you'll fall up against your past notes. And so that's basically the backdrop of on which I'll be doing my testing. And the tests are going to be model tests, integration tests, but also this form here is not actually a resource. It's not actually a real thing. I'm creating a new what's called a reaction, but it's actually not persisted. I'm only persisting, in this case, 1 or 2 notes. Or if I'm including a third group in there, say like my freelance reading group, for example, my freelance community, for example, not that I own one, but the one that I'm part of, then there would be a third box, and each time there's a note, it's always saved with a progress like this. It's always saved with hey Alex, thanks for dropping by. So I'm not saving. So this is a form object, but it's not it's not an active record object. It's not a record in the database. This reaction. I thought about doing it that way, but I didn't want to have to deal with, cascading deletes. And I also wanted to keep it loose, so that notes are part of a reading, and a reading is basically what you get when you merge your team, your reading group with a book, and that's called a reading. So notes belong to a reading, and they belong to a user. Okay, now I've done a little bit of testing for this, and it's in a separate branch. And one of the things I want to be doing today is looking at FactoryBot. So I'm using FactoryBot because I've been using a sort of like ready-made kit called Bullet Train. And I would really like to make sure that I get the URL right. So I'm using Andrew Culver's Bullet Train for this. I've used it in one of my other projects, so I have access to it. So I was just using this. And one of the benefits of this, having this ready-made kit, is that whenever I need to find something in a repo of a bunch of good sort of templates on how to build something, like it's all here. So if I want to look for FactoryBot create, so say I want to look at all the create statements that are in tests, and then there you go. So I'm not even sure if there's a create list. Yeah, see, create list team, 3 teams. So now I've got examples of how to use FactoryBot, and I didn't have to look online. I just had to look in this ready-made project where a lot of examples already were. So normal Rails right now in Rails 7 will be using fixtures, and FactoryBot replaces fixtures. Fixtures are these this other way, this, the default way of creating a bunch of test data. FactoryBot has one advantage of kind of making it trivial to make large sets of something with a lot of examples of like being able to create a multiple of these things and having it generated. And I know you can like have ERB and fixtures, but there's kind of something interesting about what is being done in here, like sequence email, and then you got like sequence number inside your email. So if you generate a list of users, they're all going to have a different generic user email, etc. So I kind of like that, and I don't mind getting good at this, and so that's what I'm doing. One of the questions that I had was, so let's look at some questions that I had about FactoryBot, and let's take a look at some more general sort of preconceptions I have about testing. So one of the ways that I learn is that I list my preconceptions about learning on a topic, my mental models, the certainties that I have. And so then I can rewrite them. I can rewrite my certainties. Once I've written them down, I can judge them, or I can rewrite them. I can say I want this to continue being part of me, or I want them to be rewritten to something that is more true. So one of the preconceptions or prejudices or thoughts lingering in the back of my mind about testing is that surely I'll never be able to write enough tests to feel good about a piece of software. And I thought it was for sure sort of lingering in my mind. And so I think this is kind of interesting, and that I realized I've never really been there where a part of the software feels well wrapped up in terms of testing, meaning that I've done a full loop around there, and that for sure, what would help would be to allow myself to iterate on coverage. So Alex, last time you mentioned that one thing that you do is that whenever you write a test, you have success, failure, and edge cases. So you're looking for covering success, covering failure, and edge cases. So it's not just enough that whenever you're writing a test, for example, that if it's not doing the thing that you want the first time and then you correct it, that's not enough. You actually want to test for the failure. So I thought that was pretty neat. That was a nice shortcut. So I wrote, like, if I write just success, failure, edge cases, as three notes, 3 comments in a test, that would be good. So I'm gonna discard my changes for now because I'll be switching to a branch where I've got a lot of the stuff done already. So FactoryBot questions. One was, are these objects persisted? I mean, are they saved to the database? And the answer is true. And the reason why I thought that was a worthy question is if I make a form that doesn't actually persist anything, it just, whenever I submit the form, it saves 2 notes, and it kind of copies into each note a piece of data, like basically my page number, my total pages, it copies them into each note. Then if that's the case, then I can't use FactoryBot to use to create the form object for me, like I do any other object, because the form is not persisted. So that was one of my questions. I'm not going to use FactoryBot if I want to make a test to test the form submission. Another one was I forget. I'm going to look at my other notes. Okay, one of the other things that I want to be doing is I want to practice writing a lot of these practice writing these factories. So, what are the different ways to create factories, subfactories, etc. So that's a bit in there. So I'll be practicing that today. So, anyways, my little app, I've published a version of it, and so I'm started to read a book with a friend over this with this app. So next steps will be to add the fact that our notes are going to be merged together, and that it's going to say, for example, Pascal or Chris is further along than you. He has a note in the future, record a thought of where you are in order to see it, kind of thing. Alex, you're telling me that yeah. So you're telling me that in order to, I could just do a controller test to post the params, or I could do something like an integration test. You're saying Cucumber or something else, or Capybara. I think I'm already kind of doing that in a reactions test, I think. In a system test. So I've already started doing that, and I use Capybara. And I'm covering that already. But I think I don't want to, there's some edge cases that I want to cover, and that may be really quicker if I write my own reaction form test, that I initiate a reaction, like an actual object using just mini tests, and then, without using a controller test. By creating the reaction, I'm passing the params in the reaction form. So that's one way to do it. So test my happy path in the system, or, test, whether I'm getting the right, error messages that are kind of comprehensive for the normal way of submitting something, like the normal kinds of things that people will be doing. But for the edge cases, use a mini test, like an inexpensive kind of model test, but it wouldn't be a model in this case. It would be just testing the object and what it spits out. I realized though that this object, this reaction form object, I have a way too much, written inside my tests and my save. I'm creating a save. I'm creating in my initialize. I'm doing like fancy things. Like, I realize this is kind of dirty, but I wanted to get something up. And so I realized that, the fact that I don't even have a resource for a reaction, that it's just a form, I'm straying from a lot of what people are doing anyways, from when they're doing tests. And so that's probably why I'm asking myself the question regarding FactoryBot and whether it persists objects and whatever, that other people might not have that question. Okay, so now I'm going to go dig for going to go dig for some factories, and I'm going to be writing a few. How's your book reading, Alex? I kind of like doing this, copying existing code, just copying it over something that is already done. So I'm just recopying the words so that I can train myself to remember. I kind of remember having seen something before. I remember seeing this website, humblepie.com, where what's this guy's name? Mig Reyes. Mig Reyes. Oh, come on. Okay. So he made this website and he asked a bunch of his friends for advice. And I keep remembering this answer from Jim Coudal. Jim Coudal is the guy behind Coudal Partners and Field Notes brand. He's one of the guys. And so, I mean, this is like from way, from 2009, I guess, this video. Like, you could see dates, but the advice is really good. And Jim Coudal is saying his advice for budding creative people is to rip something off. Like, is to basically copy something that you see, so you can understand how the thing was made. Like, basically recreate. Like, if you see a poster, try to recreate the poster so you can get into the mind of the person that made it. And so I think that's the reason why I like doing, this retyping of stuff. Is it's a bit like the kind of thing that he's talking about, Jim, in ripping people off. So at first I was a bit like thrown off by thanks for sharing, Alex, about your update. I hope it goes well. Your 1099 work. And I was thrown off by this, these brackets around the value. And now I realize that this is a proc, which is basically like a lambda function that could have taken a parameter, except there was none, and it just returns a value. So, and UUID is the method name. And I suppose this has to be a property on the object. Like, you can't just call anything. So this thing about association is kind of important, because I was running into a problem if I didn't have it on one thing. Like, one of the things they could be doing is just go team ID and 1. But, if this isn't created before it, this will this whole thing will say error. But by creating an association team, what it does is that it creates the team before it creates the invitation. Association from membership, factory, membership. So I don't think I understand this completely. So the association is a from membership. Okay, so maybe there's different. That's what the association is called, and then you need to create one of these before this association can be made. Got it. Great Artist Steal. Yeah, for Still Like an Artist. Another good book. Yeah. Did I read that one? No, I read Show Your Work by that dude. I was kind of envious of his book. I thought it was well written. I thought I can make a book like that. So this is an example of a sequence in FactoryBot. You provided the n and then boom. Okay, I'm good with these. I'm going to go with something where there's some nesting. Yeah. Do you use FactoryBot, Alex? Or do you use fixtures? So inside of factory, you have another factory, like a sub one. So I'm assuming what it does is that when it calls this, I'm assuming whenever this is defined, this is being called first, then this is being called, and so it remembers its context and it creates a sub-object. So this is what I wanted to concentrate on. Onboarded user do first name. I've only got a few minutes left. After. So after it's being created, you want to run the create default team because that's something that happens inside a registration controller or something like that. Okay. Factory girl. Fixtures. Okay. Cool. Very cool. Now I want to bring this over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my branch. And I've got a few tests added. And I kind of like them. So one thing I did is I added a success. Some failure ones. I didn't find any edge cases that I can think of. And this is sort of bothering me a little bit. So that's why I'm thinking I should think in iterations. Like one half day is going to be about writing a first iteration of a bunch of tests to cover my stuff. And then maybe I have to give myself another chance that, tomorrow or the day after I might think of another one before I can put my mind at ease that I've covered everything. So in here, I'm creating a brand new note with all of my own, and I'm not using FactoryBot because I want to make sure I'm passing all the stuff for a successful one and that I'm asserting that this will be saved so that in the future, if I add a property that I add a validation to, this will fail, because I'm not passing that new property in here. And that my progress percentage is calculated on save, so I provide some of my own progress raw, and that progress is being saved. I see a failure here. If my content plane is empty, then it won't save, etc. So I thought that was neat. And so in my factories, when now I put the association reading so that it creates the reading before. So this is all cool. And I'm pretty happy about that. So I think I'm at the point where I think next time I might continue with FactoryBot, doing some more like blown up stuff that I haven't done so far. I might go on another topic than FactoryBot for next time. But I'm pretty happy about where I'm at. Anyways, I'm at 30 minutes, and I'm past my 30 minutes, so I'm gonna stop it here. My next one is going to be on Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to be continuing on a landing page. And if you're interested in finding me on Twitter, I am at Pascal La Liberté. And I would love to know Alex, I already know what books you're reading a little bit. I think you shared with me, but if for the other people, if you're watching this later and you'd like to tell me which books you're reading, I would be really curious to know. So let me know on Twitter. All right. See you, everybody.